Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Q&A edition of Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 1273. I'm your host, Greg Audino, here with you on my favorite day of the week, Saturdays, because I love answering your questions, guys. So if you've got one of your own that you would like help with and want to send into the show, go ahead and email it to us at advice@oldpodcast.com. You'll definitely hear back from me, and we will do our best for you. But for now, let's see what question got sent in today. We're going to dive right into this week's Q&A and start optimizing your life. I'm freshly going through a breakup, coming out of a relationship of almost 3 years. This year has been extremely difficult with my former partner losing a parent and a business. I shouldered a lot this year, so they didn't handle the news very well, but we were able to end on a relatively fine note. Today, I blocked my former partner on Instagram, and am feeling some guilt for it. A friend thinks I should have explained why to my ex, or just unfollowed versus blocked them. But I think blocking has helped me just move forward quicker and not be able to see my ex's content. I know I want to keep them blocked, but could I have handled this differently? I'm thinking maybe down the line when we give each other our stuff back that I can raise the topic to explain myself. You frequently talk about boundaries on ORD, and I feel like I don't really have to explain myself for this, as I'm just trying to protect myself and move forward. I don't want to be rude to my former partner either, as I care about them very much. Okay, Asker, many thanks for sending this one in, and good news, I actually feel very driven in my answer to this one, not so wishy-washy like usual. So, regardless of whether or not the no contact rule is right, it's a popular idea that a lot of people find very helpful, including myself, but is ultimately subjective and could be argued either way. If it's something you feel you need to do right now for you, you have the right to do it. And you don't have to explain it any more than you want to. You don't owe an explanation or anything else to your ex, even if things ended amicably and they've had a lot of struggle lately. Just as well, you don't owe it to your friend to take their advice or even think twice about it, even if they're trying to be helpful. However, you are still free to do either of these things if you want. Again, explaining to your ex or thinking real hard about your friend's guidance, neither of these things are wrong, but the idea that you must do anything in this situation to me would be the only fallacy. Bottom line, if keeping no contact and not explaining it feels right and feels healthy, you're absolutely within your right to do that. And now that you're single, you'll find that not having to compromise or take even a little bit of responsibility for your ex's feelings, that's just part of the new deal. And indeed, if you were a good partner to them, it can be hard to shift into this new reality right away. So be patient with yourself and understand that that will take a little while to feel normal. Now, it should also be said that you never know what possibilities might be true, yet go against how you're approaching this. I don't know if I used proper English right there. But what I'm saying is, while you're worried about hurting your ex, maybe this approach is actually something they've recently come to find is helpful. Maybe your friend has a hard time detaching from their exes and not realizing that staying in touch hasn't helped them, they encourage you to follow the same pattern as them because it's comfortable to them or familiar to them. So, many maybes are possible, but for me, the only definitive thing is that as a single person, you are especially absolved of owing anyone any explanations or, frankly, any coddling. Now, this doesn't mean that you aren't a caring person or that you don't hold your ex in good graces. This can all be true at the same time. Sometimes our own boundaries are difficult for those we care for, but that's because we're all different people and it's expected. If you're ever to marry and find lifelong love with someone, you'll still each have boundaries that aren't necessarily ideal for one another. It's just the game. But the better you know your boundaries, the more truthful a version of yourself you're bringing to each person you meet. And that is how the most precious of relationships are formed. So take all this into consideration. The action of not reaching out is something you can control. But what may be harder to control is still feeling like you're doing something wrong. If that's a big pattern of yours, this answer of mine may not be enough to just help you proceed guilt-free. That's okay. Patterns can take a while to break. Should that be the case, I would just recommend continuing to explore those thoughts and make a habit of challenging them and digging to see where they come from. And thanks again to the asker for trusting us with this question. There's definitely an important identity shift to acknowledge after breaking up, guys. And it tends to go unnoticed by so many. In this case, it's about what I do and do not owe my ex. But this feeling is going to look different on anyone going through a breakup. So if it's something you're going through, try to sit and think about what this means. Think about the ways in which your behavior towards your partner is different from your behavior towards other people in your life. And understand that it's in that space. That's likely where a lot of the progress is going to come as the breakup becomes just more normal and more a thing of the past. I know I was once with someone who, she really felt like the only person I could ever be completely raw and open with, like no matter what. And there was no shield in any way. And this was so relieving, and it became such a point of pride. Communication and vulnerability was so easy and really encouraged for both of us. But after we split up, I also had to break up with that fantasy, right? Or that pride of knowing someone that I could always say absolutely anything to. And at first it was really hard, but I had to realize that it became selfish to maintain that part of our relationship, which was something I really treasured. Being so open all the time, it was just too difficult, it was unmanageable, and, it was inappropriate after she and I were no longer together. So we eventually learned how to bridge the gap between being open when we needed to, but also respecting one another's space and recovery, which sometimes meant holding things back. So think about how that exists for you, has existed for you, or how it may exist for someone who has recently broken up and is looking for a shoulder to lean on. That's it for this one, though, everyone. Hey, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. And of course, I hope to see you back here again for our Sunday show tomorrow. That's where your optimal life awaits.